The Declaration by United Nations was the main treaty that formalized the Allies of World War II and was signed by 47 national governments between 1942 and 1945. On New Year's Day 1942, during the Arcadia Conference, the Allied Big Four, the United Kingdom, the United States, the Soviet Union, and China, signed a short document which later came to be known as the United Nations Declaration, and the next day the representatives of 22 other nations added their signatures. The other original signatories in the next day, January 2, 1942, were the four dominions of the British Commonwealth, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and South Africa, 8 European governments in exile, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, Greece, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, and Yugoslavia, 9 countries in the Americas, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, and 1 non-independent government, the British-appointed Government of India. The Declaration by United Nations became the basis of the United Nations, UN, which was formalized in the UN Charter, signed by 50 countries on June 26, 1945. The Declaration by United Nations was drafted at the White House on December 29, 1941, by U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and the Roosevelt aide Harry Hopkins. It incorporated Soviet suggestions but left no role for France. Roosevelt first coined the term United Nations to describe the Allied countries. Roosevelt suggested United Nations as an alternative to the name Associated Powers. The U.S. was never formally a member of the Allies of World War I but entered the war in 1917 as a self-styled associated power. Churchill accepted it and noted that the phrase was used by Lord Byron in the poem Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, stanza 35. The term was first officially used on 1 January 2, 1942, when 26 governments signed the declaration. One major change from the Atlantic Charter was the addition of a provision for religious freedom, which Stalin approved after Roosevelt insisted. The Declaration by United Nations was the basis of the modern United Nations. The term United Nations became synonymous during the war with the Allies and was considered to be the formal name that they were fighting under. The text of the declaration affirmed the signatories' perspective that complete victory over their enemies is essential to defend life, liberty, independence, and religious freedom, and to preserve human rights and justice in their own lands as well as in other lands, and that they are now engaged in a common struggle against savage and brutal forces seeking to subjugate the world.